Hi guys. So this is going to be a shorter video. I just wanted to address a question that a bunch of you had about what a college paper outline looks like. Obviously, this isn't totally answerable given your different disciplines, but this is a pretty foolproof general outline. I'm not saying you have to go point by point, but this is a sort of general conceptual outline that I think works for a lot of disciplines, including social sciences and humanities and some STEM disciplines, although many STEM disciplines will have their own set sections, which make this a little bit easier. Anyway, they do tend to follow more or less what I'm going to talk about today. So in your introduction, I think the most effective way to make use of the introduction is to set up your main question. So we talked about thinking about your thesis statement as answering a question. It can be really helpful to set that up with an example or a vignette or just a background on the case that you're talking about. And then your thesis statement will come in as the answer. And that helps your reader feel that the thesis statement that you're going to argue is important because they've already been introduced to the question. And kind of the next logical step is the literature review to talk about how others have addressed this question and then how I will address this question. So if you watch the literature review lecture, you'll know what I mean here. And I think generally this can be 1 or 2 paragraphs. This is 1 paragraph. And sometimes you'll see people put their thesis statement at the end of the literature review, and that can also be effective, though it does delay your argument. It can be effective because you're setting up the question, and then you're talking about how others have addressed it, hopefully inadequately, and then you'll say how you're going to address it and what your answer is. So that can be a very compelling way to set up your introduction section in general. The next thing to come is the roadmap. Even with something as short as 8 pages, it's really helpful to have at least a couple sentences of roadmap. And all I mean by that is to just say, first I'm going to talk about this, and then I'm going to talk about this, and then I'm going to talk about this. And if you can give a little bit of a sense of why, it helps your reader go through your paper. Within your body paragraph, so obviously you'll do this as many times as you need to, make sure that you always have a topic sentence or a primary question. It doesn't have to be the very first sentence, but I should be able to find it as a reader. And if you can't say it in 1 sentence, then the paragraph isn't organized, or it's too long, or you're covering too many things. So you should be able to say what the paragraph is about and how it relates back to your main question in 1 sentence. And another thing is, I know that you're covering a lot of things with complicated backgrounds, and so there's the strong impulse to do summary. Summary is fine, but it always needs to be motivated towards your argument. And what I mean by this is that when you're telling a story of something, even if you're telling a story about your day to a friend, you don't generally just start in with a litany of everything you did that day. So I got up at 8:30 and I had coffee and then I had breakfast. You would give them a topic sentence. You would say, I've had a great day, or this day really sucked, or I feel like I was always behind today. You would give them some sort of theme for your day, and then you would go down through your day as evidence for that theme. So that's what I mean by motivated. And so if you find yourself writing summary, make sure that it's obvious why you're giving this information and what sort of the overall moral of the story is. Otherwise, it just gets lost. It just looks like a bullet point list. In your conclusion, you can tie up some loose ends. I don't think that you need to leave your biggest thoughts for the conclusion. That's not what it's for. In academic papers, lots of people don't even get to the conclusion. So this is a place where you sort of repeat yourself a bit, you tie up some loose ends, and you talk about bigger picture implications. So if your topic can be connected to some sort of bigger topic, that would be really helpful to talk about there. And it also helps shore up the motive for your thesis statement. Remember, in the thesis statement lecture, we talked about motivation and having a so what. If you have some bigger picture implications, that can be a good way of shoring that up. And in general, I just have some organizational rules that come up a lot when I'm talking with students about their papers, so I thought I would give them to you now, and then we can talk about them again when you turn in your papers. The first one, and I don't know how to stress this strongly enough, is give away the punchline. Don't hold your best arguments till last. Give them first. Give them in that first paragraph or second paragraph whenever you are stating your argument. Always give away your argument. So this is a little bit of a reiteration of that, but you put your argument first and you explain or persuade later. I think especially when we feel a little bit hesitant about our argument, we kind of want to hedge, and then have our argument down here. But if you're doing all this hedging and you're reading that as a reader, people are going to be like, what are you talking about? Where are we going with this? I don't understand what the point is until you get to the argument. So flip that around, put the argument first. People can doubt you, and then you'll have your explanation below it. So sorry about my weird little diagrams, but this is how I think about it. Always claim first, explain later. And the last one is, if we were in class, I would make you say this out loud. Your paper is about your argument, not about your topic. So your paper is not about Perry v. New Hampshire or about forced confessions. Your paper is about the argument you are making about it. So that is always what you should focus on. You don't need to explain your whole topic. You only need to explain what relates to your argument. So I hope this was helpful. These are a lot of things that I end up talking about in conferences anyway, so I wanted to front load them, claim first and explain later. Let me know if you have any questions about this, as always, and I will talk to you guys soon.